LLC is an independent financial services firm which is experienced in all aspects of investment and retirement planning. And here joining us on set with more about identity fraud is Bryan Beatty, a certified financial planner of Egan Berger and Weiner. Welcome back. We're talking about fraud.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. So all of us, probably many people who are watching, have shopped at Target.
Yes.
And that's all we hear about these days are the fraud that has been perpetrated by evildoers using our credit card information. How do we protect ourselves? Because we want to shop.
Sure, absolutely. Well, one of the first things you want to do is you want to regularly check your credit file. So there are 3 credit reporting agencies that dominate the industry. There's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And one of the things that you want to do is make sure that on an annual basis, at the very minimum, is that you pull a credit file and see what's actually being reported about your credit and look for suspicious activity.
So what if that comes up? You get those red flags of somebody's been digging around in your financial stuff. What do you do? What's the next step?
Well, you always have a right as a consumer to dispute any information on your credit file. So if there's something on there that shouldn't be on there, obviously you want to notify the credit agencies. You also want to notify the credit card companies or the credit issuers to make sure that they're aware that this information is on your file and that it is not actually you.
How often should we do this? I mean, if we've signed up with TransUnion and Equifax, what's the best way of staying on top of things? Weekly, monthly?
Well, it's going to cost you money if you do it more often than once. Everybody's entitled to once a year a free credit report, and you can go to various services that can compile these reports for you. At the very least, you want to do it once a year, and then you want to do it before a big purchase where you know you're going to have some sort of financing activity. But it's really hard to monitor and maintain that on your own. So what you probably want to do, especially in this day and age of digital technology, is you want to pay for a service that is going to actually look after your file and lock down your identity. I personally use LifeLock. I'm happy with the service, but there are a lot of other companies such as Identity Guard. I think we have a list of several companies that you can actually contact on your own. But you don't have to pay for a service. You can do it on your own. Most people are too busy to do it on their own. I recommend that you consider some sort of credit monitoring and ID protection company. And it's cheap, $10 a month.
That's not bad for as much damage as fraud can
be had. Absolutely.
So what else? So what about passwords? We were all sort of joking about our passwords are, you know, guessed or
today,
1, 2, 3, 4.
every January you're going to get a survey out telling you what the worst passwords are. The worst password is always 1, 2, 3. The next worst password is 1, 2, 3, 4. The problem with passwords is that people don't want to take the time to remember or can't remember all those passwords.
Right.
So they tend to choose one and use it everywhere they go.
Yeah.
The problem with that is if someone puts a keystroke program through spam on your email, they can get that one password and then have access to all of your locations where you might keep your information. So what I recommend instead for clients and for anybody, and we do this in our office, is that you have a password program that has a very complicated password to get into where you lock down all your passwords and use a different password everywhere you go.
So the first line of defense is that strong password.
Correct.
So because you can't use the easy one just you know on your
you can't use the 1, 2, 3.
Can't do it. Okay.
No.
So we'll make sure that we bone up on that.
Right.
Now let's talk about kids going to college. How do we protect them from fraud and from just keeping a good credit score?
Sure. One of the things that we often recommend is that when your child goes away to college, you want to have them have access to money, but what you don't want to have them have is access to where they can be actually a victim of fraud. So preloaded debit cards are a terrific way to handle this. Basically, there's only so much that a child can get to at a certain point of time. So if there is some sort of fraud, it's limited to the extent of damage that can actually be done. But it also comes with the backing of Visa or MasterCard, so there is some credit fraud protection that limits the losses, just like a credit card would, but doesn't open up your entire world of finances for some sort of theft.
So you don't recommend giving your kid just a credit card, an open credit card? I mean, we sort of like know that, right? Instinctively.
I wouldn't recommend that. Plus, you want them to learn to use credit in a very sensible and reasonable, responsible way. So it's sort of a best of both worlds. It's a debit card, so there's limits to what they can spend, but they're getting used to what will be the future of the way they actually transact business, because cash, let's be honest, it's not used quite often in transactions nowadays.
In the financial planning world, what's sort of the thing that everybody's talking about when it comes to fraud right now that those of us in the general public don't even realize is an issue?
I think the thing that people are worried about more than anything is that someone's stolen your identity, and they're out there actually perpetrating themselves as you. So a great example of that would be you haven't filed your taxes yet. Someone gets a copy of your pay stub. They happen to have the ability to log into the IRS, pretend to be you, file for a tax return. It could be completely fraudulent. They receive your refund because you haven't filed yet. And, of course, the government wants to make sure people get their refunds fast. So if that's the case, by the time you discover that someone else has already filed your taxes, it's too late.
Wow. Okay, now I'm scared, so I'm going to go immediately and change all of my passwords. Thank you so much, Bryan Beatty of Eganberger Weiner LLC.
Thank you.
Scary things, but making manageable for us.
Bye.
More Let's Talk Live's coming up. Stick with us right here.